Welcome back, everybody. Another episode, Wildcat Alley podcast. Alex Marcotullio, my boy Juice Thompson, coming back from the holidays here. Juice, hope you had a great holiday season with you and the family. I know the kids were probably happy with all the presents you probably dropped off.
Yeah.
But really, we got a really big episode ahead of us. Coming off 240 balls that the Cats dropped on the other hometown teams, UIC and DePaul, respectively. Which is obviously really good to see. First of all, I want to thank our guys at New Amendment for putting this on. Wouldn't be possible without them, so shout out New Amendment. But Juice, let's kick things off with a couple recaps. First and foremost, DePaul, which I know you were in the building for. I was traveling for family purposes, but I know you had the opportunity to be in the building. What did you see from that game specifically that stuck out to you?
Yeah, first off, like you said, happy holidays, everybody.
Yes,
want to shout out New Amendment, giving us this opportunity, this platform to, talk Northwestern. I was able to attend, the DePaul game. Actually, I'm coaching the 7th and 8th grade team, and I was actually able to take them up there. So, being in the building,
awesome.
seeing that atmosphere, being up so close so my players can actually see, college guys, something that they can dream and aspire to be was great. But, from a basketball standpoint, the Cats came out, from the opening tip, came out playing our style of defense. You can really see why, we're top 25 team in the country defensively, the way we're playing, pressuring guards. We're doing a great job on the teams, opposing best player, best perimeter scorers, even on the inside. And, we moved the ball like we talked about before the DePaul game. That's the time, we had finals, we have a break before games. The Cats, we felt they should have took some time to kind of get some recovery in, make sure everybody's fresh, healthy, and get some skill work in. And it looks like they did that. We shot the ball really well. Chase Audige, 28 points, 6 for 10 from the three. As a team, we shot the ball well, and something that stood out to us was just how physical and dominant we were on the inside.
Yes.
I think Matthew Nicholson got his first start. We out-rebounded them 43-33, and we've had a lot of success this year from those times in which we out-rebound teams. And turnovers, 22-12. That gives teams a great chance to win the game when you're getting more possessions. And just the atmosphere, just to see how the Cats played and pretty much showed how dominant, how we are that Chicago team. So being there in person was great, but obviously you know how it is as a player. When you're in the stands, watching it in person, then when you're on TV, you see different things. So I know you were traveling. Is there anything different that you saw from your perspective and with your knowledge and background of basketball that stood out or that we could work on?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head, Juice. I mean, fantastic breakdown. Basically took all the words out of my mouth. But it was just a dominant performance from the tip, right? We were ready to play. We scouted DePaul really well, and we took their best players out of the game early, which I thought was super important. And what we talked about previewing this game before, we were able to hold their big guns really in check the entire game. You look at Javon Johnson as somebody that we keyed on as being a highlight player for them. He was 1 of 8 from the field, 3 points. I mean, right there, you take a guy that's scoring 18 a game coming into the game and you hold him to 3, right there statistically you're at a 15-point advantage. And then really, I think it just started on the defensive end. Chase Audige, Ty Berry, Boo Buie, that backcourt really held it down and then stopped their guard penetration early. From there, we were able to get steals, deflections, get out in transition, and really get those quality looks that I think we've been longing for over the course of the first quarter of the season here. So that was really good for me to see. It was the offensive execution. We shared the ball tremendously, like you touched on. And when you do that, I feel like the shots start going in more. And now we have guys playing with confidence. And if we have Chase Audige shooting the ball like he did, making 6 threes in a game, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with, because defensively, we're actually under 10, where I think we're like 8 or 9 in KenPom right now in defensive efficiency.
I was selling that short. Yeah.
So, that being said, you always have that to fall back on, even if you have your off nights. But then if we're clicking like we were offensively, we had a nice inside-out presence as well. from there, we were just, hitting everything.
Everything.
We were playing with confidence. We were excited. The bench was into it. And that's something that I love to see. And something that I know Coach Collins really hangs his hat on is that camaraderie. And obviously when shots are going in, we're going to see that a lot more. So I was really proud of the effort. It was a big game, right? We're playing against a Big East opponent, somebody that is coming into your gym hungry and trying to take what's yours. And we really laid it to them. And I was really impressed with the effort.
Definitely. And before we transition, something to piggyback off what you mentioned, you talked about our bench production and how guys were happy and that camaraderie. I think somebody that stood out off the bench was the freshman, Luke Hunger.
Yeah, it was good to see him get minutes. Good to see him get minutes.
8 points, 3 rebounds in 9 minutes that he played. So I think, like we've talked about, previous episodes, it's good for those guys that are on the bench or those younger players to get that experience and get a couple minutes in, these blowout games and the non-conference, because we're going to need them. You know how it is once conference comes around, playing multiple games a week. You're traveling, injuries come up, foul trouble might happen, players get sick. So that experience is going to, play a big part in our success down the road. And one other thing, Chase Audige, 5 steals. We've talked about this, our defense. It's always one game. Every game seems like somebody's getting 3, 4, 5 steals.
All Big Ten first team defensively, unanimously right now. I don't think there would be a single gripe about that. But then you look at him on the offensive side of the ball here, 6 of 10 from 3, 11 of 19 from the field, but also sharing the ball, making the right play. One turnover, right? 5 steals, 1 turnover. You have to tip your cap to Chase in a career night for him, and it's really great to see him be healthy, him play with that swagger and attitude that we saw when he first stepped on campus at Northwestern. So hopefully that trajectory is only going to continue upwards as we move into the next coming games.
Yeah, and then like you said, a career night. So that just translate over to the UIC game. Like you said, guys sharing the ball, the defense is going well. Once guys are making shots, that's contagious. And then you see Chase had a career night against DePaul. And now Brooks Marheiser, he had a career night against UIC. 18. And he's one of the guys that you've been big on, that you've mentioned, who could step up and really, provide that spark for the team. And he really did that. So I know you're big on him. You want to speak on him or anybody that you thought, played
I'll kick it off with Brooks. And then I have a take on Luke as well. But Brooks, I thought this year that the leap he made in the offseason was probably bigger than anyone I've seen. Obviously, that first, how it goes, your freshman year to your sophomore year, you get that extra year in the gym, you're more comfortable around campus, the coaching staff, your teammates, and you can really lock in the offseason, and it looks like that's what he did. He was a bigger kid coming in terms of, muscle, but I feel like he really shredded up in the offseason, really worked on his body and his skill development. As you can see, he's almost like a third guard out there. He's used to relieve some pressure from, maybe some pesky guards. And he has the ability to really get in the lane and make plays for his teammates as well as himself. He really likes that 2-footed jump stop fadeaway, which I think is going to be a great move for him moving forward. And then it was great to see him knock down some outside shots too. I know he's struggling a little bit early on from 3, but to see him knock down a few threes against UIC, catch him in rhythm and shoot him with confidence. Again, I think that week that we had where we were able to work on some skills, maybe get some additional shots up, I think he was one of the guys that seriously benefited from that, as well as just getting some rest as well. And then, you mentioned Luke Hunger. Again, he was able to get in a little bit against UIC. What I'd like to see for him is to play a little bit more under control. I think the game's a little fast for him right now, but as he continues to get some more confidence, some more minutes under his belt, the game should slow down for him, and we're going to need him. We're going to need that additional big body when it comes to playing the likes of the Ohio States coming up and some of the more physical inside teams, coming up on the schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you hit it right on the head. Then one other player career night, Julian Roper. He had a career high of 12 points. I think, as a team, like we talked about, sharing the ball, we had 5 guys in double figures. So things like that, it's going to be hard to guard players when the ball is moving like that. You have so many options because then you can't key in on one or two players. And with our defense, we're keying in and we're doing a really good job of stopping the opposing team's best player. I think, what's the guy, the leading scorer, Carter, I believe.
Yeah, they were hard to guard too, right? You
Yeah.
watch their stuff; they were hard to guard. They had a couple pick and pop fours. Yeah, they had a pick and pop four men where we had to either switch or where we had bigs running out late, but we did a great job contesting. And we were making those shots that may be standstill threes for them against worse defensive teams. We're running out with hands in their face. We're running them off the line. I thought we did a really good job on their pick and pop fours, although they hit a couple, but for the most part, we were very locked into the scout once again. And we were able to switch 1 through 4, sometimes even 1 through 5, and really just make it difficult for them to run their stuff. So I'm really impressed with the defensive side of the ball, obviously, the attention to detail, the attention to the scout. So credit Chris Lowry, credit the assistants, as well as Coach Collins on really having the guys prepared for each and every game.
Definitely. And one other thing with our defense that I really noticed this year, being in attendance at most of the games, they're really loud on the defensive end. So like you said, we're able to switch to 1 through 4, 1 through 5. And in the stands, whether you're high up or close to the court, you can hear, guys being loud, calling that switch out before it even happens. And, those are signs of really good teams when guys are clicking, talking defensively, and that just makes everything easy. You know how it was when we played that matchup zone.
For sure. That was you, right? That was you on that baseline.
Yeah, or even our matchup. You're not talking, it's hard, then guys can get lost, mixed up in the shuffle. But I think we're doing a really good job defensively, and now it looks like offensively we're putting it together. So hopefully, we got some more of that skill work in, and I'm looking for another big performance for them, coming up with this Brown game, and then, you got the Big Ten Conference coming up. So that should be really interesting.
Yes, sir. And I'll be in attendance for the Brown game coming up. Okay. I'll make sure I'm in the arena there. So I'm really looking forward to that. Obviously, if we take a look at Brown, they've played a pretty tough schedule, and they have some wins against some perennial tournament teams like Rhode Island, which is one of the recent games. Rhode Island's been really solid. Okay, Drew, so now that we recapped the previous games, let's dive into the slate coming up. We obviously have Brown coming up on the schedule here this week. Afternoon game, which can always be tough. So this is what I'm going to be looking for when I'm in person, right? I want to see that energy that we've seen for these, higher level, Power 5 games that we've played. I want to see that energy and emotion really come to fruition against a team that on paper may not be, up to the stature of a DePaul or a UIC, but they have some good wins on their schedule. They beat a good Rhode Island team. They played well against Michigan State. It looks a little uglier than it was. They played them pretty tight, end up losing by 18, but they've had a tough schedule. Being in person coming up, I really want to see them talking again, like you said, on the defensive side. And I really look at Robbie Barron as the person to quarterback the defense. And, his versatility allows him to be pointing guys out and yelling switch and things like that. So definitely, as I'm in person, I'll be looking for those subtleties that you kind of miss when watching in a film situation or on TV.
There you go.
What are you looking forward to?
Same, coming out with that energy. We've been able to, do well last weekend. They played against DePaul early afternoon after finals and everything. So that can be tough in itself. You don't have the student section so much behind you, but there were a lot of fans and they did come out with a lot of energy. So I'm hoping to see, the Cats come out with it being an early game, coming back after the Christmas break. That in itself is tough. You get to, most of the time get to go home, be around family, friends. Then you're coming back early while people are still in town hanging out. So that can be, mentally weighing on some of the players too. So I still want to see them come out together, hungry, with that energy, defense first, and continue to share the ball, the way we've been sharing it. Like you said, Brown is a really good team. They're well coached. I think their coach needs 6 more victories to be the all-time winning coach. in history. And, they got the reigning, freshman of the year on the team. And I think, what's it, Keno Lilly Jr.
Yes.
I think he's the leading scorer of the team. So they have some talented players. They got a guy who transferred in from Loyola University. So they have some experience. It's not going to be one of those games where we're just easily able to come in and just expect a W because we might be better on paper. We're going to have to come out with that energy, that same hustle and fight on the defensive end and, continue to move the ball around like we've been doing and protect home court. We've done a tremendous job of that, especially after that Pitt game. So we got to come out, handle our business on the defensive end.
All right, Juice. So diving into Ohio State and the start of, the gauntlet, as we should call it, Big Ten basketball. It's the same way every year, physical, grueling, but the most exciting time. Once January 1st rolls around, you know that you're in for a dogfight every single night.
Every night.
And we get the privilege of starting with Ohio State at home. Obviously, we had that key win to kick off the conference and sit at the top of the conference against Michigan State. But we have a very tough opponent coming in, the Ohio State Buckeyes, coming off of a win against Rutgers, a tough L against North Carolina where they should have won that game. They had that game won. But former Wildcat Pete Nance hit the turnaround to send it into OT, and they couldn't hold on. But they have a tremendous amount of talent, a great freshman class coming in, as well as a nice mix with some experience as well. Zeb Key has been a beast since he stepped foot on campus in Columbus, and is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And then Sensabaugh, the reigning Big Ten Freshman of the Week, might have been the Player of the Week in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
He's a bad boy. He's a bad boy. He's got the size, he's got the body, and can score from all three levels. So I'm really interested in this matchup. I think Northwestern matches up well with Ohio State. I think we play a very similar style. But again, they're well coached and they're very talented. So we are going to have our hands full. What are some keys to the game that you're looking for against this formidable Big Ten opponent?
Wow. Like you said, we're starting off our Big Ten slate at home. We got that win at Michigan State. So that's a lot of momentum for us going into that. But, like you touched on at the beginning, the start of the Big Ten season, once January 1st comes up, you're just excited. You're ready to compete. Obviously, you take the non-conference, opponents very serious. You want to start the season off right, going into the conference with a good record. But it's just something about that competitive nature. You kind of turn your game up another level. Your focus goes up. Finals are done, the winter break is done, and now you're competing. Now it's time to get down to the business of everything.
Yes,
so
sir.
Now we got a gauntlet coming up. We got Ohio State. We got Illinois. We got some tough teams coming in. And like you mentioned, Ohio State has some really, really good players. They're well coached. We play similar styles. But I think the key for us, same thing. It's going to come down to defense. Ohio State is averaging, 81 points a game.
They score.
They can score the ball. But fortunately for us, we've been doing a really good job of protecting, our basket. We're only giving up, 56 points a game? And like you said, it's going to come down to the inside. That's been our main thing for the season. Yes, Matthew Nicholson is starting to step up. Luke Hunger got some minutes, some experience. But like you mentioned, the game might be moving a little bit too fast for players like Luke. And these teams in the Big Ten, especially, Zed Key, he's been a beast, 14-8. And he's expanded his game now. He's shooting the three ball,
shooting the three, yeah,
which he hasn't been shooting. And he's getting more opportunities after those guys left to go to the NBA. So I think the key for us is going to be protecting that paint and continuing to rebound the ball. Obviously, we know our guards, Ty Berry, Chase Audige. You see Boo, he's in there taking charges every game. Even if he's not scoring, he's still locked in defensively and running his team. So from the perimeter, I know our guards are going to do well, keeping those guards out of the paint, but it's just that inside presence. We have to rebound the ball, play defense, and not allow them to, create turnovers and, get layups out of it. If we're going to turn the ball up, it has to be dead ball turnovers, where the ball is going out of bounds, they pass it in. But if Ohio State can get out to run, play their style of play, it can be a problem for us, but I like our chances. We're at home. We've been playing really well at home. Our defense is, crazy right now. And like you said, we're at the top of the Big Ten, which is something Northwestern, basketball isn't used to all the time. So I'm excited. We've been at the top for a couple weeks now, and I expect for us to stay there. So we come out, play our defense. I think we'll be in pretty good shape. What are your keys to the game? And
I agree. And just to piggyback off that, obviously it's going to start on the defensive end. I think a really big key for us is to guard without fouling. I think we need to have our top dogs in the game. We need to have Chase and Boo playing 30 to 35 minutes a night in order to be successful in the league and stay healthy. But I think it's going to be really crucial for us to guard without fouling. Ohio State has a lot of downhill players in the backcourt especially, and then Zed Key likes to use his body and strength and wiggle in order to draw fouls and get to the foul line as well. So I think that's going to be a big key. And then offensively, again, I talk about this a lot, but can we execute? Can we execute? We need to set good, hard screens. One thing that I've seen over the course and the trajectory of this year is that sometimes we're a little impatient on waiting for screens, and it's caused some offensive fouls. So looking at the Brown game and then going into the Ohio State game, I think that is something that we need to shore up, is our offensive execution. It's been way better the last couple games, but when you go into the Big Ten Conference, you need to step that up just a little bit more. We need to execute a little bit better, cut harder, make sure that you're selling your fakes in order to get yourself open and provide a target for your teammates. So I think those are the two crucial components for me. And can we make enough threes? Because I think another key for Ohio State is, how many threes can they make? They have a sharpshooter in Sean McNeil. Obviously, we talked about Sensabaugh being able to step out and hit the three as well. But then you have, a really productive veteran like Justice Suing as well, who can, play a lot of positions. He's very versatile, obviously a great defender, but can step out with that lefty stroke and knock down some threes as well. So I really look at the defensive side. Can we guard without fouling? And can we limit the three-point line? I think those are two keys for the game for us.
Yeah. And one other thing to piggyback on with this whole Ohio State thing, I think this is a similar setup for us, for Northwestern, like it was the Michigan State game. Like we talked about, we were playing them at the right time. Michigan State, they've been dealing with some injuries, and with their schedule, they didn't have a lot of time to practice and prepare for us. Yeah. Yes, Ohio State has that time to practice and prepare, but right after they play us, they're at home against number one Purdue. So it could be a situation where their coach is starting to prepare a little bit for Purdue, and they can kind of somewhat overlook us. I mean, as an athlete, as a competitor, you got certain games on your calendar that's scheduled.
Yeah, it's just natural,
you're
right?
playing the number one team in the country. So that's something everyone's looking forward to. So as an athlete, former athlete, former player, we both know about that. I think we can be playing them at the right time. So if we come out, get off to a good start, we can compete with anybody in the country. Right. So we're making our shots, playing our defense. I think we have a really good chance to go in there and, protect home court, get 2-0 in the conference, and, be really at the top.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a team that has played a lot of games and a lot of tough games. They have a very strong strength of schedule, Ohio State. They have played a lot of the blue blood programs in the country, like Duke.
Top 25 teams.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're battle-tested. Chris Holtman's a great coach, so I think they will be prepared, but I think you make a great point. They could be peeking a little bit by us and looking at that Purdue game. So now it's a great opportunity for the Cats to pounce.
I read something about Ohio State. I don't think all their players made it back on campus in time to practice for the game that they have coming up.
So I didn't even think about that with the travel schedules.
With the travel and everything. So that in itself, too, can give us an advantage. If the whole team isn't there, you know how it is. If someone on the team is sick, they can be behind in preparation for a game. Yeah. So I think with all of that stuff going on, we have a really good chance to go in there and, on paper, people might say, right now we're the underdog. But so we might be able to steal them. But I like our chances a lot with the time and with everything, with our schedule. So
that's a great point. I didn't even think about that. Ears to the ground, baby.
Good stuff. Hey, any advantage that we can get.
I feel you.
And we've had some success against Ohio State. I was able to beat them one time when Evan Turner was on the squad. So Yeah. Hopefully Evan will be in town for that game so we can talk some stuff to him. So that'll be good.
I hope so.
Definitely. But yeah, I like our chances, Cats. We just got to continue to play defense, play our style, and, keep making those shots the way we've been making it. I love the way the ball is moving and the atmosphere of the team. Like you mentioned, camaraderie. Everybody's happy, cheering for each other. The ball's moving. That's tough to guard.
For sure. And as long as we keep winning, I'm really anxious to see what the crowd looks like at Welsh Ryan. This team deserves all the support that they've really poured their hearts out this year, and I can't wait for the students to get back on campus and start rocking Welsh Ryan, because it can be that venue can be a serious home court advantage. As you and I know, we won a lot of games at Welsh Ryan and really fed off that crowd and that energy, because that building, something about that building, that structure holds that sound in really well. I know it's a little different than when we played there in terms of stylistic approach, but it's still the same bones. So I think if we keep winning, especially if we get this Ohio State game, I know it's right on the verge of when students are going to get back, but if we can pack those stands and create an atmosphere that these kids deserve, the sky is the limit. And when road opponents come into Welsh Ryan, it's not going to be a walkover game. It's going to be a tough, hard-nosed 40 minutes of basketball where they know it's going to be tough to score. And we're going to have our best in order to win the game. So I'm really excited for the trajectory of the team, the program, and for the games to come. I think we got a great slate ahead of us. That's for sure.
We definitely do. We just gotta continue. We gotta continue to stay positive and get those wins, because as we both know, over the last few years, we start off pretty good in the non-conference, and then we let one or two games slip away from us, and then we can kind of go downhill. So hopefully this is the year we make that change, and we get back to where we belong in that tournament.
Most definitely, man.
Yes,
well, looking forward to seeing you out at Welsh Ryan over the next couple weeks. For Juice Thompson, Alex Marcotullio, big shout out, New Amendment. This is the Wildcat Alley podcast. Catch us on everywhere you get your podcasts, and look forward to catching you again. Peace.
Yes, sir. Go Cats.